for waiting. We got that night, and
sound,
we are live. Okay.
It just sounds so professional.
What's that?
What do we count?
What? Just do the 3, 2, 1.
Yes.
And we're live with the Scallywags Sketchcast. We're your hosts. I'm Dern.
I've always thought that it's kind of weird when we say that we're live, because then people listen to it through YouTube, and we're not actually live, and that's kind of misleading.
I would hope we're still alive.
Well, it's not the live. It's not the alive Sketchcast. It's the live Sketchcast.
Should I say that this Sketchcast was recorded before a live studio audience?
An alive studio, but then like if we're starting to take into account like all the feelings of all our listeners, like what happens to zombies when zombies have not complained about it yet, but I think that the whole use of the word live is kind of not very sensitive towards
Are we being dickish to zombies, huh?
I believe we are.
Zombies have needs. Zombies just want love and consideration.
I would guess that if there's somebody you don't want to piss off, it is the zombies.
And I should also address for the fact that regular viewers know that we do like to bring in guest artists. This week was a little bit rough for me, and I'm the guy that puts people in the guest chair, so I wasn't able to lock somebody down for this week. And so that's on me. So today, what are we drawing?
Today we are drawing a commissioned comic. Today we're drawing the comic, of course, as as always, if you are watching right now, this is filled with spoilers. For the week. That was kind of late, wasn't it?
Oh, by the way, spoilers. Yeah. Oddly, I have put up a clock. I have no idea why I have the clock up because we're just gonna go, but I'm gonna start the clock anyhow. You know.
Okay. Oh no, I thought people were seeing the clock instead of the art.
No, I'm showing. Well, no, they were looking at the art the entire time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well,
I just now showed the clock.
So, if you saw the spoiler, which you're seeing again, you saw nothing.
To be perfectly honest, we're a bit predictable at the moment. Would you agree with me on that?
Well, I think it's easy. Yeah, I guess. But when you say that we're predictable, it sounds like we're just doing a very poor job.
This current week is going to be roughly predictable. I think people are going to guess. Brand new weapons have shown up, and the villain that we showed, or the monster that we showed just a couple weeks ago, it's kind of a 2 + 2 equation.
Well, yeah, I guess. But anyway, I guess since we don't have a topic and we don't have a guest, I guess that's as good a topic as any. Like where do you stand on spoilers and such?
You know, it's weird that you asked that because I've actually. Okay, I want to make this clear. This past week, when I say it was tough for me, it was a lot of recovery. It was a lot of personal depression with my family having to set up a new house and me still stuck in the old one.
By the way, anybody listening, no, Dern is not getting a divorce.
I'm not getting a divorce. We're moving. Yes.
And he's staying behind for a few days.
But I just want to make this clear: like, O and I don't actually rehearse this show at all because I was about to like bust off into this whole anecdote of like all sorts of pop culture things. Like, I've been like really chewing on how much do I want to spoil certain things lately. Like, I saw the Lego movie 2 days ago. And it does a fantastic job from a marketing standpoint of how they sold this movie, of not spoiling two very key movements in that movie. And I kind of want to talk about them, but then there's this weird, like, no, you got to respect the fact that they didn't at all, they didn't mislead people with their advertisements, and they didn't pretend that the movie was something that it wasn't. It was the movie that I expected to see. And it had such just great perfect twists that are not spoiled at all by the previews.
So what are your thoughts on spoilers? What do you think?
I think there needs to be a certain statute of limitations, or at least an adequate amount of labeling is, I think, appropriate. But at the same time, there's a part of me that wants to say, if it's a good enough story, then spoiling it shouldn't matter.
I'm really annoyed, like, by people that are like obsessive about spoilers. That any talk about anything
Hmm.
just ruins it for them. And I'm the kind of guy that doesn't really care about spoilers. Like, you can tell me the whole movie, I'm gonna enjoy it just as well. Like I might.
Right.
Like, I understand spoilers, for example, like Sixth Sense. Yeah, sure, that movie can be spoiled, but mostly when the whole idea behind the movie is the surprise. But like I was gonna go see RoboCop on
Hmm.
Saturday, and
Spoilers. He is the
no,
law.
I didn't watch it.
Oh,
I didn't go watch it. We were busy rescuing the dog.
but were you dead or alive?
No, I went with him. I went with him.
Okay. You
But
know that
no,
you rescued a dog.
the thing is, if you saw RoboCop and you told me for some reason, I don't know, that he dies at the end or something like that.
He dies at the beginning.
Well, spoilers.
Okay, I haven't seen the new RoboCop, but
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he dies.
I'm
At the
pretty
beginning.
sure. You know what? If he
Yeah.
doesn't die at the beginning, I'm gonna be a little bit upset, actually.
But no. The thing is, like, if you tell me RoboCop dies at the end again, or anything like that, it is a spoiler, per se. But I don't care because I'm pretty sure it's not that essential to the movie and its
Hmm.
story and its plot in that. Like, it's not the same as if you tell me Bruce Willis is a ghost and I'm like, ah, shit. Now the whole movie is pointless because the whole movie revolves around the fact that we don't know that.
Right. You say this, but at the same time, as a creator, we have been very protective about spoilers about what's going on in commissioned.
Yeah, but that's exactly where I'm at. I mean, not that reason exactly, but so what do you think the rules should be for spoilers? And to me, like, for example, with TV series, I remember that like the reason this topic came to mind was because I remember Conan on his show, he was discussing it, and apparently he was interviewing some guy from some TV show, and apparently the guy was going to talk to somebody at some award. You Americans love your awards.
Yeah,
And
it's the season. Hmm.
and the guy was basically saying that the person that he was talking to was just like, don't spoil the show for me. And Conan was talking about how he thought like the whole spoiler mentality was ridiculous, and that there should basically just be a rule that if it's out, it's and
Like,
that's it. I think.
as somebody who got stuck for the past few years not really being able to go to the theater, I think like a week after DVD Blu-ray release is when it counts as it's been out.
I would say a week after it's been released worldwide, because I'm thinking not like you. I know you have your whole American mentality where you just think about like American is the only nation in the world. Um, no, I like as soon as the whole world has had at least a week to see it,
Hmm.
I think okay, and it doesn't count if you're like in one of those countries that releases a movie like 2 years after, because it happens every now and then. Here in Colombia, we get like a movie that's like a year or two old, and I'm like, oh shit, I could have already seen that online, good quality, like even on Netflix. If I
Yeah.
wanted. But as soon as like, I just consider as soon as everybody has had a reasonable chance to watch it, then you should be able to talk about it.
Hmm.
Like for example, I haven't seen the last season of Game of Thrones, but if you start talking about the Red Wedding or whatever it's called.
Hmm.
It's on me. I mean, like, I don't think you should be held responsible for me not having seen that yet when it was already out here. Like, I already had enough chance to watch it.
Right.
Like, it's my fault. And on the other hand, like, if it's a very personal thing, like it's just you and me talking, and you tell me about Game of Thrones, like I should just tell you, like, hey, I haven't watched it, and that's it.
Like, you would possibly be pissed off at me if I started talking about Lady Stoneheart.
Well,
Like, that's a special type of spoiler. That's a spoiler that is for those that haven't even that hasn't even shown up in the show yet.
yeah, well, but no, but the thing is, if it's a personal conversation, it's different because in a personal conversation, you can just let the other person know, like, hey, like even if I haven't seen, I don't know, Sixth Sense that we've been talking about, like when I mentioned it, and for example, if you hadn't seen it, you could just tell me, like, oh, dude, I haven't seen that yet. Let's not talk about it.
If you have, but I think that one's past statute of limitations. Like, at this point, I think you need to spoil Sixth Sense to people so that they realize there's actually a ghost story to it. It's more than I See Dead People. Like, it's a very, like, the whole Bruce Willis is dead and he's trying to redeem his soul. Like, it's a different story being sold as instead of, oh, it's this creepy suspense horror story.
Well, yeah. Wait, can you hear that?
Yes, we are hearing that.
That is 9 minutes in. Okay.
I am 9 minutes in as the winner for when
go.
was O's dad going to call? Yes. For those that are uninitiated on this, is O's dad does actually realize that he does a podcast and that we do it on a regular time basis. It's usually Sunday nights at 8 p.m. local time for O. And it doesn't matter. His dad will at some point forget, and usually within the first, about minute of the conversation with his father, he will then remember. Oh yeah, you're doing that thing now, aren't you? Yes, that thing. So because we're live, I'm going to babble incoherently for a little bit. And we're going to kind of look, interestingly, on the spoiler topic. I want to clarify what you're looking at right now is actually not Monday's page, but he's working on some of the work for Wednesday's page.
Yeah, Monday's page is done.
Yeah.
Like, if Monday's page were not done, I would be a big ball of stress.
And I mean, as it works out, when you're doing a comic that has action sequences mixed in with quiet sequences, sometimes the action just kind of needs a few more pages to get its swings in, so to speak. And considering that we're pretty much at the this is the climax. This is the final fight of Book 1 of Bone of the.
So you're spoiling everything today.
Of Commissioned, which is totally what the comic is called.
You are just not subtle at all.
Son of a.
You need to practice, man. I mean, how are you gonna?
How do I need to practice? It's down to a month now, isn't it?
No. I just say you need to practice. Like, for example, when you have like a surprise for any of your kids or anything, you're just gonna be the worst at that.
Spoilers, which we're not actually going to spoil for you guys, is we are changing the title of the book pretty soon, and we've known this since we've started. We just haven't really told anybody since we've started.
Well, but saying we're going to change the name of the book doesn't really mean much. What that means is the implications it has for the website. Like,
right. We're in this weird period right now where if I named the book, like a lot, it would make sense now. Like, we could actually spoil the name of the book.
Yeah,
it's
but
just,
let's
sitting
keep
on
that
it.
surprise.
Yeah. Like, a week ago, it would have made no sense. 2 weeks ago.
But it's kind of funny. Like, I imagine you as that dad that kind of just can't keep a surprise from his kids.
Well, the problem is that I'm talking to you, and like you're one of the very few people that know the name, that know the secret word, and it's how we've been referring to this project when we talk privately. So that's why it just almost naturally slipped out there. Yes.
Yeah. No. It kind of happens to me too. It's just natural. So do we have any listeners?
Okay. Our first question for the night.
Oh, we have a question even. Okay.
Yes, we do.
Cool.
Comes from Maro Zuniga. Would like to know that when you're drawing the comic, do you draw the characters or the background first, or is that irrelevant?
Okay. Mauro Zuniga is a student of mine, actually.
Okay.
So, do your homework. But
is this an extra credit situation? Is he actually going to get a bonus?
I seriously doubt it.
No way, you're not going to give him extra credit.
Yeah, he's not getting any of it. But no, it depends. Like when I lay out the pages, I already know if there's going to be background or not, and I decide in advance if the background is going to play. Well, the way it works is in a comic, the background is another character. So when you use the background, it's either going to help you tell the story or it's going to distract you. Normally, right from the beginning, the first thing I do is I decide if there's going to be background in this page or not. And if there's going to be a background, I draw the background first. Or, I mean, I sketch the background first.
Mm-hmm.
And the decision of which one I do like the final inks on, if I do the final inks on the background or the characters first, mostly depends on the complexity of the background. If it's going to be very, very complex, like in some pages, I draw that first and just kind of add the characters in. In this one, for example, the one on the left still is missing the background. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
But as you can see, it's not like anything very complicated or anything like that. So I'll just draw it later.
Does that help add to the realism that the characters then are more likely to interact with the background correctly?
It's well,
like it puts them all in the same plane of existence.
Well, it depends. Like the reason I haven't drawn that background in that specific situation is because I'm not entirely sure it needs it. But like if you look at their angle and the way they're running and all that, it's kind of obvious that they're all there together. Like you can see the three characters are all visually connected. They're all running in the same direction. They all have the same perspective and all that. So adding the background later might actually be redundant. But in this case, since I'm also going to add the shade of the shade, the silhouette of the shade in the background, so it kind of puts it all in context, and that kind of helps.
The shade.
And in this one, for example, that I'm working on right now, the background, I'm not going to add a lot of background, but I will add these elements, which are kind of background elements in this case, but it's because it also helps you know where Dwarf is jumping from. Right. So it kind of makes it obvious that, and I'll probably add some rubble kind of coming off, to show a little bit of direction and all that kind of stuff, and it just kind of makes it obvious that Dwarf can't actually jump that high, that he's jumping from something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like it depends a lot, but when there is going to be a background, if I draw it first or after depends on how much of a character it is in this page.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of the answer to that.
Yeah. Like the more I'm looking at these pages, I'm realizing it does spoil a little bit of specifically like how the combat is going down. Like,
it is a spoiler, but
like we have our heroes running away from the combat. That's their master plan.
Well, you see, that's the whole thing about my discussion with spoilers, and it's that like that basically how much information constitutes a spoiler. It's like, for example, like in this case, okay, you knew there was going to be a fight.
Right.
And like saying, like does telling people that they fight, is that a spoiler? And that's why I mentioned it, because some people, like, you just can't tell them anything. Like, anything about anything.
I want to point out something also. You're trying out a new microphone that is very sensitive. We're getting a conversation right now that I think is happening in your hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope it's not too distracting.
It's not quite, but getting close. Yeah. That's
Maybe
something that I've been quietly freaking out about with this whole move to LA. Wait, what are we doing here?
I moved the microphone in. You told me that the microphone had a 180 coverage, so I moved it, and I don't know if that helped.
It helps a little bit. It helps dull it out a little bit. Like I was trying to figure that out because when I moved to LA, like where I moved to at this point, I've gotten so used to living in a house, like we've had to consider moving into an apartment, and I'm trying to figure out. Wow, now it just got really loud.
Okay. There's not really much I can do about that.
I know. So yeah, I was like looking at apartment blueprints, and I'm trying to figure out how to set up my studio there. Like I've learned that where I have my desk now, like I put my desk in this place so that it faces up against the wall, and what I'm realizing is I have to turn it around 180 so that way I'm facing like so that the so that I'm not facing into the quietest corner, so that the microphone is facing into the quietest corner. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it did. What I
Yeah,
did there was I muted the microphone, so like
yeah.
if I'm not talking,
It
like it
got very
doesn't.
quiet there. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, but
the other thing that I've been thinking about with spoilers is outside of Lego movies, I just watched Oblivion,
okay.
and you know how I've been talking about, 1 week after worldwide Blu-ray DVD release, Oblivion's way past that. I don't know if I feel comfortable spoiling that movie.
You see, that's what I mean. Okay, sure, like if you don't want to spoil it, that's not a problem. Like, go ahead,
Yeah.
don't spoil it. But people shouldn't be angry if you talk about it and you talk about the ending. Like,
I think a lot of it matters as to what movie it is. Is it a murder mystery? Then don't tell us who the murderer is unless that's information you get out of the first act. Let some of that mystery be there. Is
well,
is it the Titanic? Guess what? The boat sinks.
well, you see, that's the thing. For example, I don't know if you've ever read an Agatha Christie novel, right? Basic,
Well, yeah.
yeah, basic murder mystery.
Mm-hmm.
In turn, it'll
Hercule Poirot, your Miss
But
Marple.
like if you're looking for that feeling of reading a mystery novel and trying to solve it yourself uh, while you read it, it's definitely going to be a lot more satisfying than reading Sherlock Holmes. Not saying that Agatha Christie is better than, you know, not saying that it's better or anything, but
Well, there's two different types of mysteries. There's the who done it, and then the how did they do it.
yeah, but like
So, yeah.
if you're looking for that kind of thing that you can just read and kind of have fun seeing if you can guess who did it, Agatha
Mhm.
Christie is definitely going to be a lot better. And yeah, like no matter how old Murder on the Orient Express or however you call it in English, no
Mhm.
matter how old it is, you normally don't tell people like who.
The funniest thing is that I correctly figured that one out because I got so fucking frustrated with it.
So out of anger, you just
So
said like,
out of anger, I blurted out what the correct answer was, and was just kept reading at that point. Like I gave up trying to solve it, and then I read through the finish, and I was like, well, shit, I was right. Okay,
yeah. So
still
like
counts as a win.
in that case, I can see like not wanting to spoil it to people,
Yeah.
but like I said with Sixth Sense, because that is the point of the book. If you know who was the murderer, you just like there's no point why you're reading it. Why are you even reading it? Like
Well,
again,
sometimes
like
you
in
do a
Sixth
second
Sense, like if you already know that Bruce Willis is a ghost, why would you even watch the movie? The whole movie is
I
narrative.
would actually argue on a couple of these points. Murder mysteries, sometimes you want to do a second read to see were there other clues that you just didn't spot the first time.
Oh yeah, yeah, but
Um,
because you already read it and you already it's again like the Sixth Sense when I saw it the first time, and I want to point out here that I do not feel comfortable talking so much about an M. Night Shyamalan movie, even if it is like one of his two or three good ones.
yeah,
Um,
back when we trusted him.
I just think that he is so bad right now that he does not even deserve me talking about his good movies.
But here's the thing: in that one in particular, it does have a second viewing option
Yeah,
because,
that's the thing. Like you want to watch it again to
well,
see if
are you familiar with the color red in that movie?
are you familiar with the color. Oh, this movie was a long time ago.
In The Sixth Sense, if you watch it again, the color red, whenever it shows up, that is something that a ghost has interacted with.
Well, okay, yeah, but that actually helps my point. It's that
Yeah.
you want to watch it again, basically, because even at the end of the movie, and I think that is one of the mistakes the movie makes.
Hmm.
That the movie kind of ham fists the whole "we gave you the clues." It hammers it in because at the end of
Yeah.
the movie, when we finally discover that he's a ghost, the movie kind of goes back. and
Okay.
shows you all the moments.
Would you like me to give you an example that we can get away from M Night for a bit? Fight Club.
Yes, definitely.
Fight Club.
Okay, yeah, there's another example.
Yes.
You don't want to...
Fight Club, it has a secondary viewing option. There are things going on, like when you watch the fight scenes that whenever Brad Pitt, when he is in the fandom been referred to as Jack. Oh wait, no, he's Tyler Durden. I'm sorry. Jack is Ed Norton. But when you see Tyler in a fight, if you watch, instead of watching
every time
Tyler,
he gets hit, yeah, the
you
other guy
watch
wins.
Norton, he's wincing every single time, and like his body is reflexing to being punched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do we have any other questions?
No, it's just one early question so far.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so like, and the thing is,
we haven't even actually we haven't asked for questions.
Oh well, people, you can ask questions.
Yes, you can either comment on the YouTube channel. I am keeping an eye on those. We also have the Q&A system set up for. We have the Q&A system set up for Google Hangouts, and Alex is actually talking shit to us on the questions right now. Yeah, because he actually, I think Alex is one of the few people that knows what the secret title is.
Yeah. I think he was there.
Yeah. Alex is one of our booth babes. We were driving down to DragonCon that weekend, and so it was basically one of those things where we told him like, we're sorry. It wasn't when we made it up, because we made that up to Kineticon.
Yeah, but maybe we're discussing it already.
But we let him know that he was going to get stuff spoiled. Yeah, because we had to take the car during the car ride. We had to go over plot details and all that stuff. So he knows way too much about what's going to happen. I think he's done his best to try to forget about it.
Yeah, well, that is, to me, it is like one of the flattering. I have to admit, like when I talk to people about the comic, and if I mention something and they say like, "Don't spoil it for me,"
yeah,
it always flatters me a lot. Like I always feel kind of
like we're at that part of the story where they know there's so much more about to like get cracked open, and people don't want to know what it is until they see it. Like they don't want us to tell them about it. They want to read it, and I'm very tickled by that.
But okay, so the thing about spoilers is, to me, it's one of the things of the internet that I don't like, and I mean I don't like it is when, for example, I like to read a lot of video game websites.
Mm-hmm.
You know, video gaming. It's come to a point where reading about video games is almost as much of a hobby to me as playing the actual games themselves. I'm enjoying like the whole video game journalism, almost as much as I enjoy the games themselves. And,
so not like reading over story canon decisions, or do you do that as well?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love like just every single aspect of it. I love it, and like all the like from the making to like facts and all that kind of stuff. I just love reading about video games. That's kind of like, it's almost become a hobby of mine to read about video games. And so I frequent a lot of sites, and some of them are good, some of them are like real like serious video game journalism kind of thing, and some of them are a little bit lighter and the thing is, every now and then I see on these sites that they mention something or whatever, and the readers get angry because they consider whatever they said a spoiler. And this is like one of those internet things that that kind of bugs me.
Like oh no, Aerith died.
Yeah, stuff like that. And there's always some douchebag in the comments saying like, "Oh man, I had never played that game, and I was planning to play it this weekend. Thanks for ruining it for me." And I just feel like I never, as a rule, I never comment on any of these sites. But I always feel the urge to comment and say, like, dude, that's on you. like Aerith died ages ago. Final Fantasy VII already had an HD re-release, and actually that example is kind of pertinent because since it had a fairly recent HD re-release, no, actually fairly recent, it came out on Steam or whatever, and yeah, people were complaining like, oh, you spoiled it for me. I was going to play it for the first time. You're like, where? How? I think it's even admirable if at this point in the life you didn't know that.
Okay. Now, has there ever been a time, though, when you've been angry at a spoiler?
Never.
That a spoiler actually ruined something for you?
Never. I have never actually been angry at a spoiler because the few spoilers that are worth keeping, people actually keep them.
I had a couple hit me.
Okay.
It was I believe the death of Dumbledore was actually spoiled to me.
Really?
Yeah. It was just because that particular book came out and it was a convention weekend. And I'm like, I'm too damn tired. I'm not going to go out and get the book while I'm trying to work my table and then read it in my... No, I'm just going to wait until after the convention and read it. And somebody went to a midnight release, got the book, just like speed read through it all night so that he could be that ass walking around the convention and just telling people this.
Oh, okay, but yeah, in that case, I'm on the side of the person saying, you know, don't spoil it.
Yeah, that was just dickish. Like,
yeah.
And they, I believe, were well aware that they knew they were being dickish, and that was just part of their, you know, I'm trolling the world.
Yeah. But in that case, like that person was intentionally trying to piss people off, and I guess mission accomplished.
Yeah.
But
like,
yeah, but
at that point, all you can do is just try not to get a rise because that's what
that's what they wanted. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I don't know. Maybe some things have been spoiled for me throughout my lifetime. I don't really remember them. But the thing is, I don't really care. Like, it's like if you tell me right now who dies in the Red Wedding, I don't care. You know,
well, that's actually a fascinating topic if you want to really get into it, because there's a death in the TV version of the Red Wedding that I think is a case of the producers of the TV series drastically misinterpreting what happened in the book.
Well, I haven't. Well, I'd say let's not discuss it, not because I haven't watched it, but because I haven't watched it, and so I can't really talk about it.
Like, well, to narrow it down in non-spoiler fashion. But I just wanted to point out in a non-spoiler fashion, the way that happened is that it's a weird case where George R.R. Martin in the book was doing, you know the phrase "show don't tell."
Yeah.
He was telling the entire time, but he was telling, he was showing other viewers giving their viewpoint, their tells. And so he didn't actually show the knives and the crossbow bolts going into people. He showed people talking about that happening after it happened.
You know, one of the weird things about Game of Thrones is, I don't know if you've seen the South Park episodes that are about video games and all that.
Not recently. Not the World of Warcraft one, right?
No, that one's old as dirt.
I have not watched South Park in a while. So, you know, don't spoil it for me.
No, but this isn't. I'm like, people. If I spoil this for you, fuck you. I don't care. Feel free to send me an angry email saying I spoiled the South Park episode. By the way, if you watch the first season, Kenny dies. But no, it was basically the kids are having a war over which console they're going to buy, PS3 or Xbox. And spoiler, at the end, the whole thing is just like them advertising their new video game.
Oh man!
No, but it's funny.
How could you say that? I was going to watch that this weekend.
So, in any case,
What's bad is I nearly wrecked the timing of that joke because I was taking a drink of water while I started to say it.
So they go. So Butters and I don't remember who else go to speak with George R. R. Martin because they want them to like, give him some advice because they're basically basing their whole war on Game of Thrones. But they're all sick of watching Game of Thrones because they're like, when do the fucking dragons show up? Like we wanna watch the dragons. When are the dragons showing up? And so they go to talk to him to see like when the dragons are showing up. And the whole time that they're talking to him, he's basically saying, the dragons are gonna show up. I promise. But in the meantime, look at this penis. And the guy is just obsessed with showing everybody that's watching his show penises. And I don't know if you had a chance to watch the song that they kind of made. He made like a new intro for Game of Thrones, and it was just basically the whole rhythm of the theme song, but they would just go penis, 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 penis.
Oh, really? They went with penis?
I think it was penis. I don't think it was dick. I think it was.
Well,
penis.
No, dong would have been a perfectly.
I might be entirely screwing this up, and they might.
Because if it was dong, it would have been dong, 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 dong.
No, but I'm pretty sure.
Dong, 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 dong.
But in any case, the thing is, I was watching this, and all the time, like, yeah, it was funny and all, and the episode is very entertaining. Like, Kenny as a Japanese princess character is, Princess Kenny is awesome and all that. But the whole time I was watching this, I was like, am I getting a censored version of Game of Thrones? Because I honestly don't remember that many penises.
There really isn't, and there was a definite uptick in dongage for season 3. And
okay. So I just haven't seen all the penises that are coming.
But
up.
at that, I don't. I think it's definitely less than 4 dongs throughout the entire 10 episodes. And I mean, if we're counting like how many tit shots we've gotten, how many male or female ass shots, and the occasional bush shots, man, this has taken a just like I sound like a creepy person at this point, but it's actually one of those things. There were a lot of articles about
like everything they show.
Yeah, I got my checkboard here. Like, yep, yep, definitely ass, double female nipple there. Yeah. There's probably more dismemberments than there are dongs in the season.
But
especially if you count dismemberment of dongs.
Okay. So how many dicks are too many dicks for Dern?
I really don't care. I think a lot of it had to do with I don't know if you remember the lovely Sam Raimi softcore porn series Spartacus: Blood in the Sand.
I never saw that one, actually.
If you want to see Xena Warrior Princess naked, seriously, why am I becoming like Mr. Skin at this point? But
I did. Well, and you just made it even worse by basically telling the world that you know who Mr. Skin is.
Everybody knows who that is.
I don't think people know as much anymore.
It's like saying that you know that there's a bus where banging happens on it. It's in the internet.
Wait, is it a bus of bang?
A bus of bang, yes.
Oh, awesome. Bus bang.
It's bus bangers. People who can't help themselves but humping buses. It's a special fetish. The thing is, I say that, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm willing to bet that there is a site that does that.
What, Bang Bus?
No, Bus Bang.
Oh, somebody humping a bus?
Yeah, people just going around humping buses out of control.
I guess so. I think there's something for everybody. But no, I think Mr. Skin is pretty old by now. I think there's a very good chance that a lot of people don't know what Mr. Skin was. Which, by the way, listeners, if you're young and making us feel old, Mr. Skin was this porn website that just specialized on showing you whenever some famous actress was naked in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
That was what Mr. Skin did, which
it
always
gave
reminds
you
me
specific times as to when to get to that point in the movie.
which reminds me, I'm trying to remember, and I'm going to lose so much geek cred for this, but I'm trying to remember which one is the character in a series or a movie that always remembers. Remember that there's this character in a movie.
Yeah, and he's like a Rain Man of Mr. Skin.
Yeah, he always knows at what point in the movie.
I think that might actually be Ted Mosby in How I Met Your Mother.
Yes, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah, but he has this skill.
Anyhow, my whole opinion on the thing is sometimes ladies want to see that. And if you want to watch a show like that, like Blood on the Sand, as a couple's viewing show, and it's got all this cheesecake running around, and it has
Blood on the Sand, the one with Madonna.
What? Madonna?
Did you just say Blood on the Sand?
Yeah, Spartacus, Blood on the Sand.
Oh, okay. There's this old Madonna kind of sort of porn movie called something like Sand and Blood or Blood on the Sand, where she basically just falls in love and fucks a lot with a bullfighter.
Okay, well, I'm not talking about that.
There was this one scene where she actually breaks a light bulb in the garage on top of her car and then proceeds to lie down on the broken shards of glass and get fucked on it. That was, I believe, when I saw that, this is a very long time ago, which, I mean, you know how long ago it is when Madonna was actually allowed to make porn movies.
Yeah, that's actually something I was debating on. Like, I was about to throw you under the bus and say, you know what, I feel less weird about accidentally, like, showing up as a weird Mr. Skin guy if you're a Mr. I'm into Madonna guy. Like, then I was thinking about it, like, yeah, there actually was a time where that was okay.
Yeah, there was actually a time when people, like I remember a couple of years ago that Madonna was kind of like flashing her boobs in her concerts, and everybody was like, Madonna, please don't do that. Nobody wants to see that.
It's a Madonna.
Okay, but yeah.
Yeah, I should have said Madonna. That's what I was trying to say.
This was such a long time ago that I saw this thing. I was like barely a teenager, and now that I think of it, I believe that we have just shared a moment here on the show where people, along with me, have realized probably the moment in my life when I discovered fetishes. Because I remember that scene. I mean, she breaks the lamp on top of her car in the garage and then proceeds to lie on the glass and get fucked on it. And I remember thinking, so apparently there's ways to get turned on other than just fucking.
I'm going to bet there are some other fetishes and sexual lifestyles that have had earlier awakenings for some of our listeners than that.
Oh, no, I'm pretty sure, but that was the first time. Yeah, I think that was the first time I saw like a fetish, because, I mean, there's a lot of fetishes, you know, and some of them are not as weird, but I think that was the first time I personally saw what I consider to be a weird fetish on the TV, because, of course, this is something I saw on Cinemax back when Cinemax was, I don't even know what Cinemax is right now. I haven't seen it in a very long time.
But yeah,
I think that was the first time I realized, like, oh, so people are into weird shit. That's kind of cool.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I can't comment on how hot Madonna was or was not in that film because I was a preteen. So as long as she was naked, I was good to go.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I needed.
Did it really even have to be naked at that point?
No, not really.
Really.
I will openly admit that I am of the generation, and you are too, and a lot of people in my generation. We are of the generation that jerked off to scrambled porn.
Yeah.
And if you're not of our generation, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, so I'm going to have to explain. And this is kind of weird because I have slowly but somewhat come to the realization that a lot of my students listen to this show. So scrambled porn is basically way before we used to have internet porn and easy access to it. Because I'm guessing porn was born with the internet, like internet porn was born along with it. But before we could all just like easily watch porn on the internet, there were porn channels on cable.
And satellite.
Yes, and they would be scrambled. Basically, if you turn to that channel, all you would get is like static and a sort of distorted image of what was going on in the background. And every now and then you would maybe catch a glimpse of a tit or something. And I jerked off to that a couple of times. I'm pretty sure my entire generation did. You're just a preteen and you're horny as hell.
For me personally, it developed a lot of technical skills for me. My family had a giant satellite dish, the type that a TV station would own to pick up signals and feeds for like shows that they were syndicating on their TV station. So we would get raw feeds. And those feeds were basically what the cable television was pumping in. It usually had an XY axis flip, a polarization flip, and sometimes a negative flip. And it really was that simple. And if you had an old school set box, first thing you had to do as a preteen surfing satellite porn is remember exactly what the presets were to get everything back to where it needed to be so your parents didn't realize what you were doing.
Why did your family have a satellite dish?
That's a story unto itself. But you know what? Yeah, let's actually derail and do that story because, yeah, long story short is I was able to descramble a lot of
long story short, I watched some porn.
Porn, yeah. And I'm trying to think to myself, like, where the fuck do I think this story is going? Like, you're not going to get a blow-by-blow after success.
Yeah, like the end of this story, at the end of the story,
I tell you how what I did.
I went a night without sleep.
That was a very dry month for me.
It was like freshman year, like right before freshman year, and you had to take a physical to go get to be allowed to be cleared to go play high school sports, right? I definitely flunked my physical that year because I was dehydrated. Like, I don't want to explain why I'm dehydrated. I know why I'm dehydrated.
The doctor
because
probably knows.
The day before my physical, I was home alone.
Doctor probably knows too.
He probably had a very good guess on that one. So anyhow, my dad. I know you don't like sport. It is
Wait a minute. You had a satellite dish just because of sports?
Well, we just had the Super Bowl recently, right?
Yeah, and I heard it sucked.
Oh, it was a terrible
Which makes
game.
me happy, very happy.
Yeah, it was terrible to watch. Well, the Super Bowl, the first time ever that the San Francisco 49ers made it to the Super Bowl, my dad was working. He was working for the road department out in California called Caltrans, and so he was working in the middle of nowhere. He was on snowplow duty. He was repairing potholes that were 50 miles away from any town. And the TV station that they had, it actually shared two networks. Like, you know how we have ABC, NBC, CBS?
Yeah.
I think it was ABC and NBC were on the same station. And they had a contract agreement of what they could show, when they could show stuff, when certain nights of the week were guaranteed to be that station. And it turned out the night of the Super Bowl, it was guaranteed to be the other station. And my dad panicked, and it really made me understand that he's my father, because his solution to not being able to see the Super Bowl, instead of trying to go over to some town over and just seeing it in a sports bar or something like that, no, he goes out and buys a 20-foot tall satellite dish, plunks it in the backyard, and makes sure that he's going to be able to watch the Super Bowl.
Did he invite a bunch of people and all that?
I believe so. I do remember there being a Super Bowl. I was very young.
Yeah, but that is so sad, because it would have been a much better story if he had just sat down by himself.
Nobody come in here. This is important.
And I just like to imagine him with this huge frown on his face the entire, like scowling all through the game, just like angry, like burning with hatred the entire time.
Man, that was pretty much how I watched this entire season of Niners football. Just I was angry at the games when I finally got to watch it. Like, it was not a healthy season for me. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, sports suck, but they do make me laugh at people. Yeah, because I've seen people get very angry at sports, and that's one of the reasons I hate them. And I'm just imagining, like, just sitting there furious at the whole thing.
Yeah,
The whole
like, I don't want to
like,
get... Yeah.
Like, see what you made me do.
I'm hoping that football doesn't let me down when it comes time for the draft, because there's a really big social story getting tied to the NFL right now, in that there's a college athlete that has come out as openly gay. And he's good. He is a legitimately good... he's this... I think it's like 6'4", 220 pound defensive end. Shoot, I keep forgetting pounds are the tough one to convert. Let me fix that for you real quick so you can get an idea. This guy is roughly my size if it was muscle.
Oh, I remember. I read a fake news story about like some NBA player that supposedly slapped Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun because I read the story and I saw his name, and immediately what I did was go and check up his bio and see how big this guy actually was.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy is...
It was Blake Griffin.
And the guy is humongous. The guy is just absurdly large. And I was just so satisfied because I was imagining the size of the hand that supposedly slapped Justin Bieber.
Yeah, NBA stars, they have these hands that are...
Yeah, because
massive.
Not only is he like this humongously tall person, he's built. I mean, he's not like this tall, skinny dude. He's built, and he's an NBA player, which means he has one of those humongous hands that can hold a basketball in one hand. So I was just imagining that guy slapping Bieber like right across the face, and I was so disappointed when I later on read that that was just like a fake news story.
Yeah. I'm getting a little bit tired of all these different fake news story things cropping up. Like, there is a columnist that works for The New Yorker, which is a fairly prestigious magazine. And his entire column is always parody news that's almost believable, but realistically not. And the problem is nowhere on the online posting of his column does it say this is a work of parody, that this is a joke. So what's happening is people are linking these stories on Facebook, and it's saying, NewYorker.com, and they're like, oh man, this is practically an Onion story, but it's not. It's from the New Yorker. And you read it and like, wait, no, this didn't actually happen. Like, for example, with the Sochi Olympics going on right now, there's some bad shit going down with their hotels. Like, people know this. But then this columnist runs a story like saying that every one of the hotel rooms at the Olympic Village had portraits of a shirtless Vladimir Putin.
I remember that.
Like, that's a fake story.
Oh,
like, that's not actually happening.
I actually believed it, and I was just amused by it. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, see, it looks like it almost could be a real story, but then, like, when you finally read through some of the other stuff that he's written, and you realize, okay, it's all BS. Yeah.
Oh, no, I saw this one news video from some parody news site. I mean, this one was very obvious that it was parody.
Mm-hmm.
About, like, the life of the Olympic athletes at the village, where they rest and eat and train and fuck. And basically the whole news story was about how, like, the Olympic athletes are there fucking their brains out.
That's actually accurate.
And the funny thing about the whole news thing is that it was very much parody, but it is very much true.
Oh, you have no idea. Like, and for some reason, every now and then the media gets the report of like how many condoms get shipped in to Olympic Village. Because what happens is we're basically taking, like, every country is sending hundreds of their most physically fit, attractive people that are between the ages of like 18 to 35. And we're putting them all basically in this isolated area, and there's a roughly equal number of males and females there. So it's just like an international selective breeding going on there.
Yeah, I no, I mean, I had read
Yeah.
about them having problems with the Olympic Village, um, in London, where basically they were saying like, please stop throwing the condoms on the roof.
Yeah.
Like it's becoming a problem.
Would it hit a problem level of like, okay, that's a bit much, people. But or then I think it was the Winter Olympics 4 years ago. They actually ran out of condoms, and then like they went over the number that they had sent out, and it was just like a staggeringly large amount. Like each athlete was given, I think, 5 or 10 each. Like that was the number, and there weren't enough. And like you have to figure some of them are setting one aside as a souvenir, but then this year in Russia, it's like gone onto a whole new level apparently, because there's all these mobile phone apps that are designed for like the anonymous or the location-based quick hookups. And so it was actually one of America's skiers. Can't remember if it was a skier or a snowboarder because I really don't care, but she was going off about how her whole ski team, they have been definitely like boy shopping by just flipping through their phones, and eventually she was like, okay, crap, I've got a race coming up in like 2 days, and it's a race that I've trained the past 4 years of my life for, so she finally like uninstalls the app so that she can focus on that whole sport thing.
It's got to be awesome. I mean. But I don't really, I don't know about you, you probably do because, you know, you suck, but I don't really follow any of the Olympics at all, and mostly I have to admit the reason is because they make me feel old. Yeah, I mean, I watched the Olympics, and I mean, I wasn't doing anything with my life that would eventually get me to the Olympics. But I've always watched the Olympics, and I always am reminded that like, even if I wanted, like, even if I somehow magically became, like, this gifted athlete, that I am too old for the Olympics now.
See, that's not true.
No,
because
I read some
event.
news about, like, some 50-year-old woman that, like, was in, like, in skating or something like that. It's all very nice.
No. There's one event that I obsessively watch, which I feel bad because I actually haven't watched like the past few days of. I've been busy getting stuff done around the house and going out and doing things like that. But curling.
Oh.
Do you know what this sport is?
Yes.
It's taking a large stone and slowly spinning and pushing it like it's a game of darts on a giant ice rink. You got people just screaming. You got the sweepers. There's the strategy. There's putting up the guards. There's getting as many stones in the house. And I passionately watch this sport, and it's actually, this is a callback. This is tied to that giant damn satellite dish that my dad got, because when Olympics actually started happening, like, okay, U.S. television is horrible about Olympics coverage, and it always has been, that they always tape delay it. So I'm like, well, screw this. I'm going to, find another nation's network and watch their coverage because they'll put it up live. And what I found was the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Company. And Canadians fucking love curling. It's amazing. Oh, second. I gotta sneeze here. Oh gosh. Well, that's a yawn. That's not a sneeze. What the fuck? Oh, my body's lying to me. So
you were like.
So I got into curling at a very early age, and the passion and the excitement and just the weird, bizarre strategy of that sport, like, it got to me. Like, I love this. And I mean, there were other parts of the I love speed skating. I try to watch hockey. It's like the only time in my life when I watch hockey is during the Olympics. And
you know, I've never been interested. Like, I've never been interested in the Olympics. But you know, I mean, because I haven't been old my entire life. Like, you know, back when I wasn't.
There's actually a sport that you might like that's in the Olympics now, called snowcross, which it's a snowboarding race, downhill racing snowboards, and the course is like a mixture of jumps and banked turns, and they send 5 people down the course at the same time. The reason I point out this to you is because it is the closest thing I think we're ever going to get to rollerball being an Olympic sport.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that's what it feels like watching that.
Really? Okay, I might have to watch that, but I won't.
No, you probably won't. I mean,
no, I'm not gonna. But it does sound like something I would enjoy, especially if there's a lot of accidents and a lot of people getting hurt. Because I am one of those people that will watch a NASCAR race if I think that there's a chance that I will get to see a crash.
This sport, you see a lot of mid-air collisions, which is just sort of a weird poetry of tragedy. And that's the other thing. Like, you might like speed skating too, not the like the short track speed skating, which is hilarious because like one of the they did this shot of this one guy. I can't remember what country he was from, but he won the first medal for his country ever. And the way that he did it is
the Australian. He was Australian.
Yeah, Australian, thank you. Because
and everybody else fell.
Yes, there was a massive collision in front of him, and because he sucks, he was nowhere near the collision, and he just like is slow skating past them going, "It's finally happening!" You know, I'm not actually good at this, but hey, go!
I mean, I would like, for example, with NASCAR, which I hate also.
I have opinions on that. But
let's not discuss them. Why don't we not discuss them?
There's 2 things that NASCAR used to be. Way back, it was bootleggers running around and doing their highly illegal modified cars.
You see, that's the thing. When I read what NASCAR used to be, I liked NASCAR now even less.
Yes,
it just used to be like painful. Cars that you were supposed to be able to buy.
No. First, it was illegally highly modified cars. That would have been awesome, because there was like no restrictions or anything. It was like whatever you could do it. And then when they finally like cleaned it up, then it was you had to be able to. There had to be a certain number of production models of this car, and they were racing like the exact version of that car around.
Yeah, that's when I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, and that would have been interesting too. Like that old school racing, I would have loved. Now they drive around in these homogeneous cars that it doesn't really matter what car they're supposed to look like. They all look pretty much the same, and they all have pretty much the same performance. I mean,
I don't like that, and I do enjoy it, but I think they should just kind of admit that everybody just wants to see them crash. That's what we're all there for. I'm just waiting for them to make Demolition Derby into a serious kind of sport. Like,
up the ante on it.
Yeah, like okay, you know what? It's the future now. Apocalypse is on his way. Let's just make this whole death race thing happen. And
I've been to more than a few Demolition Derbies, and they're a lot of fun. But I mean, ultimately, if I want to watch automobile racing, right now I watch Formula One. They have the ability to turn left and right.
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh,
NASCAR drivers, they can turn left. One time they had a driver that tried to turn right, and we'll put a moment of silence in for Dale Earnhardt. What? Too soon?
Just not.
No. Yeah, that's probably one of my worst jokes I ever do, and I still love it, because I'm a terrible person.
I can't really claim to be any better than you in that regard.
I spent most of this past weekend laughing about the fact that somebody was an orphan.
Well,
don't want to spoil why, but if somebody comes up to me and says, "No parents," I will probably start giggling.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
that's yeah.
Yeah. So we got another question.
Awesome. Okay.
It's like, okay, the relief that is in your voice right now, like, oh, thank God. We are so backed into a quarter, because if we try to double back, we're either going into dead parents or porn. Like, or dead
Well,
parent porn.
I'm
Oh,
I'm
man.
happy to discuss porn. You know, I would never.
Oh, man. I'm so... I just want to put this out there as far as dead parent porn goes. I am so glad that, like,
Dead parent.
streaming has become, like, the industry standard for porn. So that way, I know for a fact that my sons are... like, if I die, my sons are going to have to clean out my stash. Yeah.
You have a stash?
I don't have a stash. Everything's streaming now.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I can die right now. There's no porn on my computer.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Um,
great.
and that's the thing. Like
Yeah.
who,
We don't need to share exactly what works for us.
no,
Light bulbs.
that's not even the point. The point is like I don't know. Like I remember I used to have like maybe a poster or something that I would jerk off to, and I got a lot of use out of those posters. But right now in this day and age, I get very bored of porn very soon. Like I
It could just
watch.
be that we're in our mid-30s.
No. I don't mean I get bored of porn. I get bored of a specific porn video.
Well, that's exactly what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
because
next.
like I watch it, yeah, and you know they're so easily available that I don't really need
Yeah.
to keep any of it. Like
So,
there's gonna be another. So
anyhow, the question is what is the best advice when creating a great story for an online comic? I mean, what makes a story interesting?
I just love these questions that we get considering what we've been discussing.
Well, by the way, that question actually came in like 18 minutes ago, and I just now getting to it. But
And by the way,
yeah.
I'm not saying like people don't send us these questions. I love these questions and I love answering them. You know?
It's like a challenge for us. Like, how fast can we get back off topic? Okay,
I love
first
it. I
thing that
love
what
it.
you want to do to have a good, interesting story is dead parents. Second thing you want is porn. Third thing you want is NASCAR. Put it all together.
There you go.
Yeah,
Okay,
you got
so
a
this
GoDaddy
question,
commercial,
okay,
actually.
so this question is specifically concerning webcomics, right?
Yes, there was a reference to. Yeah, he did actually say an online comic.
Yeah, because there is a difference, like of what
Yeah.
what works in print and what works in online.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be a certain punch to each page when you're doing an online comic, and we cheat on that. We get in trouble with it sometimes, but it's really designed because we're designing commissioned. I wasn't gonna say it. We're designing commissioned to be a one sitting read.
Yeah.
And then reread. So then we don't always put that punch in the page, but we're very much we're conscious of it. We know that people are going to look and stare at this page. Well, that's why we do the ninja. Like, we know that over a 48-hour period, they're just going to stare just at that page. And then every now and then, they're going to reread what has been done.
I think it's an interesting question, but it's a question that barely has an answer, basically because like by its very nature, the internet, there is just so many people. There are just so many people out there to read that you're like any kind of story is gonna find somebody to read it. Now, if we're talking about like mass appeal, it's totally different, you know. But as far as like what makes a story interesting, it's really like there's somebody for everything. So
I would say there are some key details that I'm seeing trending right now. Now, if we are not talking about gag-a-day comics, we're talking about story comics. What we're seeing on the internet right now is character-driven story comics. Not plot-driven, but character-driven. That you need to build your characters up first and make them real and make them speak in a certain way and have them be. There has to be diversity to them. There has to be. They have to be. They have to be human. And I say this is not like Lizzie is a human, but not. I mean, she's a lizard folk, but you know.
Yeah. I mean, I could also be mean. I'm not gonna be, by the way. But there are certain trendy things to do with your characters right now that I'm not even gonna mention. But yeah,
when we say diversity, I actually do want to point on this because I think there are some comics out there that are doing diversity for the sake of diversity, and they are putting in token characters.
Yeah, that's
like, and there's actually some creators out there that are purposely not putting in certain types of characters, and it's not because they are against those type of characters. A great example of this is actually Danielle Corsetto does a webcomic called Girls with Slingshots. She has gone on the record saying that she is not putting a transsexual character into her comic because she doesn't honestly know enough about trans issues, that she doesn't want to misrepresent that type of character, and she doesn't want to put that a trans character in her comic just for the sake of putting a trans character in.
See, that's where I think that's what I think is a good point. And it's,
yeah, I do think there are some comics that are honestly putting in certain types of characters just to get a little extra attention.
But like, for example, to me, it's all about the story and the characters and the story that we're telling with them. And quite honestly, I've thought about several of our characters. Well, not several. I've thought about one of our characters and the possibility of that character being maybe gay. And the reason I say this is basically to point out how irrelevant it is, because I wouldn't be doing anything with that information. It would be almost like a trivia thing, like oh, and by the way, this guy's gay, and that would be it. It wouldn't be relevant to the story. It wouldn't be relevant to him. It would just be something that the character has in his head, and it reminds me of way back when Harry Potter, that J.K. Rowling pointed out that Dumbledore was gay, and it was this totally and somebody asked her, like, why isn't it more important in the story, and she says because it's not important.
That's why it's not actually in the books. It's
he just happens to be gay, and that's it. It's not relevant to him. It's not relevant to what's happening, to the story I'm trying to tell. So something smells like it's burning right now.
That's not a great sign.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna pause the clock or something. I'm gonna actually take 30 seconds while you probably talk trash about me while I.
No. I've been absolutely polite about this.
Okay. Wait.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. Although I love that he actually drops off the cast on me while we're in a very delicate conversation point. I know we're both very consciously thinking about that. I want to make this clear, is that O and I are very accepting of all types of people. I mean, we were talking about it earlier in the podcast about Michael Sam coming out and getting ready to go into the NFL draft as an openly gay defensive end, and it was actually something I was going off on last night, is like, okay, yeah, he's gay. It's not something that affects whether or not I want my team personally to draft him. What affects whether I want my team to draft him is, can they fit him in as a defensive end? And then I found out, oh wait, he's a former teammate of Aldon Smith, who is one of the current defensive ends for the Niners, and I kind of want my team to draft him, except for the fact that I don't want my team to spend one of their first 2 draft picks on him, because they have a higher need at getting a skilled wide receiver and a defensive back. So
you just decided that you would go with a sort of interesting story and then bar the shit out of people with sport-specific stuff.
Well, yeah, and see, that's what it gets down to, is that
how much
Michael
faith
Sam,
do you have in the NFL's how would I call that? What word am I looking for here?
I didn't even hear the first half of the question. I wasn't listening to you.
How much faith do you have in the NFL as people, as human beings?
Well, I can guarantee you they aren't going to not draft this kid now, because of like there was those early rumors going on. The main problem with him is that the position that he plays, he's really only a fit for about half the teams in the NFL because of the different type of defenses they use, and that's the real issue. Like for me personally, it's like I want the Niners to draft him, but like I was saying, I don't want them to spend one of the early picks because they have two bigger needs that revolve around them winning. And I also want him to be drafted on a team where I know he's going to actually play, because that's kind of a big deal too. The thing with the NFL is there have been gay NFL players. It's just their teammates, and their teammates know who they are. And the thing is we didn't know who they were this entire time because we have this interpretation of the meathead jock and, oh, he's got to be manly. But the reality is yeah, these meathead jocks they had their teammates' backs. So, anyhow, this is something I wanted to point out to you. I'm going to go right back to where we were. By the way, was anything burning?
No. It does smell like something's burning, but it's not in my house.
All cats accounted for?
Yeah, none of them are burning.
Okay. Just want a cat on fire. There's only two characters in this story that I know for a fact what their sexuality is. In a weird writer sort of way, the other characters really haven't. It sounds so doofusy to say this. The characters haven't told me what their sexuality is otherwise.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
there is one that I know that the character is gay, but I just don't think it's relevant. Like, I don't think we would do. I mean, we're not going to be telling any. This is not a spoiler, but there's been a lot of comments in the comment section.
There's been a shipping happening that people have been not straight up writing fan fiction, but they've definitely been
calling for romance between Elf and Raven. And
these are two characters that are actively trying to kill each other.
And no, the thing is, yeah, sure, we can go from hate to love easily, whatever, but
do you really go from murder to love, though?
I don't know. Movies have done it. I don't see why we couldn't. But I am gonna say, I'm gonna go out and say right now, we're not. This is not. I mean, we have absolutely no romantic content to our story here.
I disagree with you. I can
see.
tell you what it is later, but there definitely is a romance in this story.
I'm trying to remember.
I'll tell you what it was later.
I'm trying to remember, like, what have we discussed that is romantic, but yeah, I mean, like I will say right away, like, no, we're definitely not going to shift things into that kind of cliche direction,
right,
where I hate you becomes I want you. No,
it's very clear right now that we do have 6 characters that are our main characters, and 3 are boys and 3 are girls. They don't pair off that perfectly, but there is definitely, in my mind, a potential couple, if not, I'm not going to say they're a definite couple, but there are 2 characters that they have attraction towards each other.
It's no. I think I know what you're talking about and all that, but it's definitely.
It's not Elf and Raven though. Those 2 just hate each other with a passion.
And yeah, like again, without any spoilers, pairing them up would ruin a lot of the stuff we're gonna try to do in the comic. So yeah, I don't think I'm ruining anything here by saying that. This ain't gonna happen.
So another question. I think this is actually carried on. I actually haven't read this, so I'm going to just go. If character-driven stories are interesting, where do you guys get your inspiration to write about the characters in commission? Do you take the personalities from people you know in real life? That is an
Oh,
excellent
wow.
question.
Yeah, okay, I can tell you that the characters in commission, all of them, okay, Princess Glitter Sparkle is 100% Dern's baby.
Yeah.
And this is going to be weird, but it has a lot of him in her.
Yes.
This is basically, yeah.
That she is as close to a character insert as I will ever do in a comic. As a writer, I've done a lot of this stuff, and one of the first things, like when I decided I wanted to be a writer, the first thing I did was focus on writing nonfiction for a while. I was a newspaper reporter for, 12 years? 14, about 14 years there. I would have to look. I wrote through college, working through newspapers and interning, and then after college, that was my day job before I went full-time making comics. And this made me basically sit and watch life, watch humans interacting with each other. And I was actually a sports reporter, so I started to learn these different types of how people react to things, different personality types and how they exist. And honestly, athletes are very close to warriors. And so there are a few mental archetypes in my head, and these are like when you start interviewing shot putters year after year at track and field, you start to realize they think a lot differently than the sprinter, and they think a lot differently than the linebacker or the goalie on the football team. You know, so you start to like sense that. And then there's some similarities, like a shot putter could very easily be the same, and sometimes is the same person as an offensive lineman on a football team.
So you just had to make it boring, didn't you?
And that's the truth, is that Lizzie is actually a shot putter in my head. A shot putter, an offensive lineman. Raven is not really sports related, but she's an interesting one for me because she is technically like the other four characters, Dwarf Elf, Were Tiger, and Raven. That when I have to add things to these characters, I'm always mindful of what you've already done with them.
Well, it's kind of funny with the comic because, like I said, like Princess Glitter Sparkle is Dern's creation. But like all the other characters are characters that kind of came out, and what I did was basically, I sat down with her and we actually fleshed them out. But the initial idea was already there, so I can't tell you where each of them comes from. Dwarf, Elf, and War Tiger are in fact characters that were played by my friends. They've been in the comic forever, and they are not at all like they were in the game. They did used to be the way they were in our role-playing games, in the sense that way back in the comic when it was just a gag-a-day thing, they were all just douchebags, and that was basically kind of a joke on my own gaming group, which is basically just a bunch of douchebags. And I say this freely because that is basically the way they played.
Yeah.
Like, let's just douchebag the whole thing up.
And that is something that we did change. Like you started to change it before I started writing it.
Yeah, but it just doesn't make for an interesting character. So so we changed it up, and
for example, Were Tiger, you started to give him some character growth and to drift him away from the other two. In the story arc that you did that was right before the reboot.
Yeah, and that's basically because the whole joke of let's just be mean to Were Tiger was starting to get pretty old.
Right.
Raven,
in fact, like there were in that one in particular, you actually had readers that were. It was one of those things that I'm going to go back to a lot of times. Is that when we reintroduced Were Tiger, and we had the group pick on him again, because we sort of wanted to greatest hits recanonize him being picked on by the group and have him have that character growth away from that moment.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Raven was actually, she comes from the webcomic, a character that I actually made based on just some girl that I knew
Hmm.
and I liked, and she was like a goth girl. And the funny thing is, we later on became very good friends. We haven't spoken for years, though, and I never told her. I never told this girl. Her name was is Camila, and she was just like a goth girl, and we became very good friends and all that. Like, I mean, there wasn't anything between us or anything like
Yeah.
that. But it was kind of like based on her, on the whole like goth girl thing, and
But that was
eventually,
more her aesthetic and not her personality, though, right?
well, she did have like this kind of mean
Mhm.
side to her, but it was, it was all just for show. She was very nice.
Right.
And but anyway, I kind of based it on her, not in some creepy kind of fantasy way, just kind of like I needed a character for the comic, and I personally do enjoy goth girls a lot.
By the way, you are technically spoiling something.
Um,
We've never actually revealed that Raven is being played by Raven.
oh well,
Technically, those are two different Ravens.
yeah, but I mean, like the character. That's
I mean, we've more or less been obvious about it. Like,
but
that
yeah,
is her character.
yeah. So, but then when the time came in the comic to give her a character to kind of put in the game, I just kind of thought what character she would play, and also thought, okay,
Well, initially that was Jezebel.
yeah, her name
Yeah.
was Jezebel, and I basically the her class, which was kind of a rogue, was basically just decided on what am I missing? What have I got in the group, and what am I missing? Lizzie comes from several things. Lizzie comes from the fact that I have just always simply loved uh, lizard folk in D&D and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I've always loved that
I
race.
wanted a lizard folk because I wanted the biggest brutish member of the book to be female.
And a lot of Lizzie comes from us just trying to, well, at least on my part. I mean, I say us, it is us, but I kind of don't feel comfortable speaking for Dern. So he can just say like, yeah, at the end.
Okay.
But a lot of Lizzie comes from me just kind of going, okay, let's. She is a character that is very unexpected, and I love the fact that there's a lot about her that you just don't expect, and there's still a lot about her that is just kind of. She's there to challenge a lot of what people think and know, and she has become one of my favorites in the comic. She is definitely one of my favorite characters in terms of what she is and what she's going to be and what's going to happen to her. She's one of my favorites.
She's got a lot of story that's going to unravel. When we did plot out the 3-year arc, and it's shorter than 3 years. It's apparently 9 to 10 months times 3, so 30-month arc maximum is I think what we're looking at, because book 1, like, it's a 3-book arc in my head, and we just had to figure out how long does it actually take us to make a book. Book 1 is taking us about 9 months. In my mind, book 1 was about Weretiger and Princess Glittersparkle, even though we don't fully get all of Princess's story. That it actually comes out at the end of book 3. Book 2 is about Dwarf and Lizzie, and book 3 is about Raven and Elf. Yes. So those that are wanting answers as to why those two hate each other, sucks to be you. Check in a year.
Well, you can read in the meantime.
Read in the meantime,
yeah,
but
we
yeah,
to have you
just
reading
understand.
in the meantime.
Like you mentioned that when they got the bones out, and you're like, and now we're gonna be finally able to start giving some answers. I instantly look at my script. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? They're gonna fight the Shade for like the next week or so, and like there's not gonna be any answers. We're just gonna throw more questions.
Well,
Like, there will be
Yeah,
answers in, like, 3 weeks, I think. We
well,
actually give a couple as to explain what the hell just happened.
I just kind of like to think that people can deduce a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
from what, and actually that has become one of my uh, storytelling philosophies, and I think I practically inherited it from you, and it's that say as least as possible. Just let's
Hmm.
make it so that we're showing, not saying, and I
Yep.
just love that. I love to say as least as possible in this comic. I love the fact that there's not a lot of reading in it. It's and not because I don't like to read. I love to read. That sounds terribly stupid, but I just said.
Yeah,
But
as the writer, it does feel a little bit odd for me to be, yeah, let's put as few words as possible in this book.
But it
But,
is
yeah,
it,
that's
it
what
is
we're
that,
doing.
and I will never forget. Like when I first started doing comics, what the first thing you learn when you start making comics is if you look at the story without text and you can't more or less figure out what's happening from the images without the text, then it's not a good comic. That,
Yeah.
like a comic should not need a wall of text. And in terms of webcomics, I hate webcomics with walls of text. I just
Is that
absolutely.
there's a lot of people who are just amateur writers that are making webcomics. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just do not enjoy comics with wall of text. I immediately, like, whenever I look at a webcomic and there's just too much text involved, I immediately kind of feel like, oh, this is homework. That
Hmm.
this is something to do now. This has become an assignment, and
Speaking of which, Mr. Zuniga has pointed out that he has really not wanting to be working on the perspective assignment that you have assigned him.
well, tough. He's got to do it.
Yes. But he is definitely not
Yeah,
getting extra credit for this.
yeah. Sucks to be you, man. You
Yes.
got to do it. So yeah, too bad you're
So,
not enjoying it.
so
You're
yeah,
gonna
I
have.
mean, and I want to be like when we built these characters, like we spent at like a week and a half just talking about what these characters like. We wanted to know what their story was before we met them and what the story was going to be for them. And when we figured that out, then we started putting the whole story together. Hold on a second. We are in the last 3, 2, 1, and time.
Yeah, what do you know? I did it exactly in that time. I did that panel exactly. Let's zoom in on it.
Okay, we will do a last round of questions if anybody has a last minute question. But then let's kind of button up some of this. What makes good storytelling and things like the whole idea of the characters and the why we expanded the cast is people really like being able to attach themselves to characters and have a favorite, and it's sort of a manga philosophy of how they do their storytelling is like you get some of those mangas out there where they just crank the characters out and they are 20 different archetypes that they have, and you'll get a lot of those shonen properties that they have the exact same 20 archetypes, but people love them because they have that one archetype that they personally love, so they'll cheer for their background character to go through in the story and have their little moments. And we didn't want to quite do the 20 new characters, although we definitely actually infused like a dozen new characters into the realm, like in the first week, and then we stuck them all in a dungeon so that you really only kind of get to see more. We'll add more characters in the next book, and then more characters in the book after that. And knowing me, I will have very large difficulties just throwing away a character. So, like, if I have a guy that if they do something, I want them to have a certain amount of humanity to them that I want to poke at later, and then make you feel bad from like being okay with that character dying or getting their arm chopped off. Yeah, it's really an extended
Okay,
exercise in making
you're
people
about
feel
two
bad.
steps away from starting to spoil stuff. So just
What? No, I'm talking about Badger Mage dying or um, what's her name? Was it Ella getting
no,
her
no, that
arm
was
chopped off?
Marion.
Marion getting her arm
Yeah,
chopped off. I
Marion
get
got her
Ella and
arm
Marion
chopped off.
mixed up. Yeah, they're actually both named after.
But what I'm saying here is that you're about 2 steps away from starting to talk about stuff you shouldn't be talking about.
I am not going that far. No, I'm purposely looking back to things that we did in this this particular um,
Story.
Yeah.
Chapter.
Chapter. Yeah.
So, do we have any final questions?
No, there was just a clarification that Surfer's Bane thought that he knew what I was talking about at one point when I was discussing a certain thing that would be spoiler. Just to give like a really odd spoiler so that people can nod and say, "Oh, that's what you're talking about." Batman's musical taste in the Lego movie. Honestly, it makes me feel like a terrible person to be as tickled and entertained by it as it was, but holy crap did that make me just bend over laughing. And that's another great example, the Lego movie. Like, at the end of that movie, I'm seeing everybody talk about how much they love it, and then they'll talk about their favorite character. Was it 80s Space Guy? Was it Batman? Was it Princess Unicorn Kitty? And they have all these unique, different is also a key thing to do when you're building these characters. And having good characters and having them work organically, have them not do stupid stuff unless they're stupid. Like Elf and Raven, everyone is convinced that those two are idiots. And I always like kind of like smile and like, yeah, sure, we'll see.
Thing is, you're gonna have to wait about 3 years.
No, it's like it's only going to be about 15 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to wait a very long time before you can realize, oh, so they're not stupid. They actually had a reason to be at each other's throats the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And it is like, yeah, it is gonna happen, but.
And it's a little bit spoilery of you to say that, because then that means that meant something. Like,
yeah.
There are things hidden in this comic that mean things.
Well, I will go out and say right now, right away, we, like, this comic I was gonna, well, I almost said the name.
Your turn.
Yeah, this comic, there is nothing in this comic that is meaningless. I have actually thought about this for a while, and I have come to the conclusion that we are probably serial killers with the amount of attention to detail that we've been putting in some of these things. Because
I wouldn't say serial killers. Psychopath is the correct term that you're looking for there.
Yeah, but you can go back and look at a lot of the stuff in this in these comics, and just kind of nothing in these comics, from the clothing to the characters to the background.
I'll make this promise. We're going to come out once a year with the trade paperbacks. That'll be the soft covers, and then once we get all 3 done, we want to do a hardcover set with a fancy slipcase and all that stuff. When we come out with that set, the hardcovers will be annotated. Okay.
Okay.
Like, we will page by page point out where some of this hidden stuff is, all the way back to page 1 of book 1, the key things that we are hiding there, and like sort of a director's commentary. Like, that'll be in the back of the books.
Yeah, because we just.
But we can't do it until after all 3 books are out, and then we can go back and do it.
Yeah, but that, like, if you who are listening are a fan, and you are enjoying what we're doing and all that, definitely get used to paying attention, because this is.
There'll be a quiz later.
Because there is a lot of stuff that is just going to take place here, and later on it'll be a matter of, oh, so that's what was going on.
Okay. Would you like your final question?
Sure.
And personally, if you want to flunk Mr. Zuniga for this one, go right ahead. Do O's cats drink milk like normal cats, or won't he let them because he thinks milk is disgusting?
Milk is disgusting, by the way. And for some reason, I said that once in class, And for some reason, I'm pretty sure there's something going on there that I don't know what it is. Like there's probably something in the past, or maybe I had my fly open when I said it or something. But for some reason, my students seem to think that the fact that I think milk is disgusting is hilarious. And I have this firm belief that milk is not a drink; it's an ingredient. Um, it is. And the thing is,
Is it okay if it's on cereal, right?
yeah, that's what I mean.
At that point, it's an ingredient.
I mean, don't sit down and drink a glass of milk, but you can, you can use it for your mac and cheese. You can use it for your cereal. You can use it for your coffee.
I will drink a glass of milk if I'm dunking Oreos into it, so technically it's still at an ingredient state at that point.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've actually had milk with my Oreos, but I don't drink the milk afterwards. But I understand it if you do. But the thing is, my intern, Laura, she fucking loves milk, like with a passion. She will fight me over it. She will actually just kind of get into arguments with me about the value of milk. And
this is Laura number 3, right?
Yes, this is Laura number 3.
Okay.
And we will actually like get into discussions about milk. And she actually gives my cats milk. And I told her that she could, because, hey, they're cats, I'm not going to subject them to my taste. So, yeah, she can give my cats milk. So right now my cats are having, like, milk a couple times a week. But it has to be lactose-free milk, because guess what? Cats are lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
All of them.
So I would not know that. My cat does not actually get milk.
Cats are lactose intolerant, so unless you like cleaning up cat diarrhea, I suggest you avoid giving your cats any milk.
As we're talking about this, that we've actually got one of your cats chiming in the background.
Oh yeah, that's Legend. He's probably prowling about. But yeah, the cats are lactose intolerant, so I let Laura give them lactose-free milk, and she can give them that as much as she wants. But yeah, I despise milk as a drink.
Okay, I'm going to have us wrap up this little shindig that we've had here. It was a polite pleasure and a delight.
Pleasure?
I called it a polite, yes.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. I thought you were calling it a polite pleasure.
I was trying to say a pleasure and a delight.
Oh,
I was trying to say it was a pleasure and a delight, and I got polite, and I'm like, there was nothing polite about what we did this past hour and a half.
I don't do polite pleasure.
No. It was pleasurable. It was delightful.
I mean, we do need to do our return to Smegma show, so...
Yes, well, perhaps we could do that later in the week, because, ladies and gentlemen, we are
going about to make an announcement, okay.
Yes, I'll make a nice official announcement about this right now. We are going to start doing a thing called the Ninja Cast, and this is going to be a podcast of stupidity, in that it is just going to be very similar to the Sketchcast, especially very similar to the one that we just did tonight, because it'll just be me and O. It will be O working on the comic, so it will be very spoilery in terms of what art is being done, because he does have to actually draw the comic at some point during the day, and we will be doing this at about 1 p.m. What's the international time for that? What time zone are you on?
Are you talking about like 1 p.m. here, where I am?
Yeah. UT.
So that would be -5 GMT.
-5 GMT. Okay, I'm going to write that down.
Wait, 1 p.m.? I thought it was 2.
Oh, okay, 2 p.m.
Yeah, let me have lunch, man.
2 p.m. -5 GMT. You know what? I really like that, because I had it as 1 in my head, and I was thinking, oh, fucking a month from now, that means I'm going to have to be up at 10 a.m. to do this.
You should be up at 10 a.m. anyway.
No, I shouldn't. Well, I'm not. This is
not a good example you're setting out for my students that are listening to this.
Okay,
I'm going to be telling them, like, don't work at night. You have to do your homework at the end of the day, and they're going to be like, oh, well, Dern gets up like at 11.
Yes, but Dern is a crazy person. They should remember that. But no, I'm thinking in terms of like I could be, I'll wake up at 10 a.m. Like that'll happen, but I'm not interesting at 10 a.m. 11 a.m. though, I could be interesting at 11 a.m. Sure.
I don't really think my students see me as a very sane and mentally stable person.
No,
so,
probably
so
not.
I don't think anybody does. Really.
Okay, this coming week, we know for certain that we're going to be doing the Ninja Cast. That we're planning on doing that at least once a week from here on out, and it'll probably be Wednesdays at 2. And we will be running this week as a lot more of those. Like, we're good tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So we will definitely be doing Monday. We will definitely be doing Wednesday. Depending on how things go, we probably might even squeeze in a Tuesday and a Thursday. And we'll explain exactly what's going on, what our business plan is with this new show, and how often we do actually want to run the Ninja Cast, and the future of what Scallywags International will be doing. So it's going to be a very exciting week for us.
You didn't make it sound very exciting, though. You made it sound like we're going to be discussing business.
That's exciting to me.
To you.
Is it exciting to the person in your hall?
To the person in what?
The person in the hallway?
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to ask her.
Okay, just ask her right now. I mean, I think she can hear you.
Yeah, she might.
Okay. No spoilers, people. We'll talk to you more about this throughout the week. Any closing remarks, though? I'm just taking her closing remarks right now at this point.
Don't do your homework, Mauro. Do your fucking homework. It's not optional. I have my
All other
eye.
students.
Yeah. You made me pay special attention to you. Now you have to do your homework. Yeah. Next time, remember, the nail that stands out gets hammered.
And it's always a great bit of advice. Okay, and with that, we are signing off. I do want to preview a couple other things real quick. We will have a Ninja Cast next Sunday. I have no idea who the guest artist is.
Sketchcast.
Sketchcast will also be next Sunday again. We should have a guest artist. I am working on booking one for the February 23rd show. For the March 2nd show, we have booked a Chris Schweitzer. And for the March 9th show, Joe Dunn of Joe Loves Crappy Movies.
Gotta love Joe.
Yeah. And Chris is also a great guy, so I predict us talking more about Sherlock and pirates for his show.
Yeah, that should be a very interesting.
He's a very, very fun comic creator and also a very good historical comic creator. So when we start talking about storytelling details, when he starts bringing in historical accuracy into the pile, that's going to be, for me, that's fun. So yes.
I guess
yeah.
We have a lot of history books.
Yes, and
it's not very uncommon.
I'm still talking to a couple artists for next week, and then the show after that would be the March 16th show, and that's a month away, and it's also going to be the Sunday after I travel cross country, so that will be amusing. Yes.
We'll have to wait and see.
Wait and see. We'll see. Are we really ever amusing? We'll find out. All right, that's all for this week. Thank you very much for listening.